Well, let's talk to the former Italian MP, Vladimir Luxuria, a crusader for gay rights and now back in Italy after being escorted out of the Olympic Park in Sochi last night following her own attempt at a protest. She joins us live from Rome now. Well, I think you were arrested not once but twice, weren't you? How were you treated?
The first time I've been treated quite polite. They kept me for more than 3 hours in a room without explaining anything. They were all talking in Russia. They took away a flag from me with a written on it, "It is okay to be gay," written in Russian. I had to wait in a room without knowing what was going on about me. And at last, after 3 hours, a person who was able to talk in English came up to me and he said, "Oh, you're very welcome here in Sochi Olympics, as long as you don't show Russian writings about to be gay. So now we release you, but please don't do it again." And since I've spoken with a lot of young gay people in Russia who told me that when they were beaten up, where they were victims of homophobic aggression in Russia, they cannot go to a television to talk about their aggression because they defy the Putin's law. According to this law, if you talk about homosexuality, you make propaganda. As if you talk about these things, you try to convince people to become homosexual. This is the absurdity. So I defied as well Putin's law because I went back on the Olympic Parks the following day,
So you must
shouting, not with a flag.
So you must then, in a way, although obviously you've been quite shaken up by what happened to you, you must in a way have expected to get arrested and even used it to highlight your concerns. Is that the case, would you say?
They didn't have me to write any documents about being kept. They didn't tell me anything. They just controlled the passport. But the second day, 10 policemen came up to me and they forbid me from watching the hockey on ice game. I had a regular ticket just because they were afraid that in the stadium I could shout in Russian, "It is okay to be gay." This is the situation in Russia. I've been dragged by 10 policemen. I fell down. They took me up and I've got all my shoulder is aching me. And they put me in a car together with other 4 people without saying anything. And then they drive away from the Olympic Park. And I know that thanks to the consulate, the Italian consulate, who talked with the police chiefs in Russia, he managed not to bring me to the prison. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here in Channel 4 to talk with you. I would be in a Russian prison. Because what we are doing now here on the English television to talk about homosexuality and these things could be a crime in Russia.
But
where
is there any
everything
sense
seems to be...
Okay, but is there any sense at all in which, you know, when in Rome, do as the Romans? If you're in Russia, you have to respect their cultural sensitivities. Do you accept that at all?
Yeah, I've expected. I went there. I was conscious that something was going on. But I decided not to be led by fear, but by courage, because it was right to talk about these things, because gays and lesbians and transgender who are treated bad, we shouldn't say we don't care just because they live in Russia, because they are my brothers, they are my sisters, and I've heard their witness. So I think it is very, very important that I was there to stand up for their rights.
Because many say Russia isn't the worst offender in terms of gay rights. Would you also go to Iran or Nigeria? Have you been there, for example, to protest the way gay people are treated there?
I've not been to Nigeria, I've not been to Iran. It is very dangerous also there to be there. I've tried to do the best that I could. Maybe because my name is Vladimir Luxuria, so I wanted to say Vladimir against another Vladimir. And Russia is a very big country. So I think it is important, because what I felt there is that there was a lot of modernity in technology and in architecture, but in Putin's mind there's Middle Ages. So I think it's a very big contrast. And I think it is so important, really. to stand up for all the gays that I've heard who said we wanted to be with you there,
Okay,
but we live here.
Vladimir Luxuria, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we're out of time. Thank you very much for talking to us. John.